What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with a lucky dip of sorts, meaning one from my own collection. That is to say, earlier I wanted to listen to Corey Hart's Sunglasses at Night, which I have on this 80s Sight and Sound compilation release, which has both a music CD and a DVD, on which there are a handful of music videos. And in fact, I don't know, 3 years ago, I reacted to Sunglasses at Night from this compilation, and maybe Pat Benatar's We Belong, I don't remember, I'm not certain about that, but it is on this compilation. But yeah, when I took it out earlier, a song title caught my eye, which is always something there to remind me. And yeah, I remember this tune, it's one I definitely heard as a kid on the radio. I would not have been able to tell you the group name had I not had this CD as a reference point. But yeah, it's apparently Naked Eyes, so I don't know, maybe they were just a group that didn't come across my radar much, and perhaps there's other tunes of theirs I've heard without knowing who it was, but yeah, certainly I don't think they have the international notoriety of, groups like Depeche Mode and some of the others that I've been listening to since back in the day, although again, even in those cases, I've only really explored their catalogs more fully once I started to do reactions here on YouTube. Anyway, that's a long way of saying I don't really know who Naked Eyes were. I don't know what year this song comes from. I would guess the first half of the 80s, maybe even early 80s, just because I recall hearing it when I was very young. So yes, ultimately I remember this song to a certain degree, but I don't necessarily remember much more, like, as I can hear it in my head right now, than the chorus. So let's give it a listen. This is Naked Eyes. The song is Always Something There to Remind Me, and I have it on this compilation release called 80s Sight and Sound.
Streets you used to walk along with me, and every step I take reminds me of just how we used to be. Oh, how can I forget you, girl? And there is always something there to remind me. Always something there to remind me. I pass a small cafe where we dance at night, and I can't help recalling how it felt to
It's very nostalgic. Ultimately, it is what I think later generations would call an earworm. It's the kind of tune you're going to find yourself humming and just, running through your head when you're not paying attention. But yes, there's a lot going on sonically. I mean, there's like wedding bells, which I don't know if there's like meaning there, especially because it sounds like, they've long since separated. And although more on that in a moment, but yeah, there's like wedding bells or like church bells, I guess more generally. There's different keyboard layers, including kind of these longer like supporting chords, as well as like these, what's the right word? Sinusoidal things that go up and down. But yeah, there's these like rolling keyboard lines that also are very prominent, and then obviously that particular keyboard flourish that follows the title track, the title in the chorus. Always something there to remind me. That line is, I was thinking about that once the track started. That's one of the prominent features that did stand out over the years. And yeah, there's like more flourishing drums than I remembered, as well as like, it comes and goes, but there are multiple parts of the track where like every other snare hit, there's also this like metal hitting metal type of sound. So yeah, there's like some bits and bobs, especially in the percussion, that I was not thinking about in advance and had not been retained in my memory of the song. And yeah, I mean, number one, it makes me think of a sample from a techno track, acid techno, acid trance, somewhere in between. But yeah, the idea that memories are formed by association, like smells, sounds, sights from points in the past can trigger memories of someone else. So the idea of going to these places and, seeing these sights that were shared with this other person in the past, the idea that's like always reminding him, these things, he sees them, he comes into a certain location, and again, even like smells and so on, it can instantly just like, oh wait, there's something associated with that, and in this case, it's another person. So yeah, he's having a problem forgetting, and even saying like, how could I ever forget you? Which also makes me think of a quote from a film, The Air Up There, starring Kevin Bacon, where the idea that like when you leave something of yourself with someone else, like you take part of them away. So then it's like she's not there anymore, but it's like it's like she's still here. Like the presence that she has in his life has not diminished, or at least has not left entirely, despite her not being around. So he also seems to be saying he's going to keep going to these places, so maybe it's partly because he's simply like reactivating these memory associations all the time. So I enjoy the writing, and again, I don't think it's trying to make a point about neuroscience or philosophy. I think it's more just like he misses her, he can't stop thinking about her because he keeps seeing these things like, oh, I remember when we walked there, and I remember when we had dinner there, and I remember when we stopped to look at this like view on this bridge, and so on. It's like everywhere he goes is just re-triggering these memories again and again. So yeah, it's a song that's, I guess, like melancholic, and yet like sonically it's not that at all. It's kind of this bright, happy tune, and again with like wedding / church bells, which feels like maybe in his head it's like it should have been that, but instead I'm here wondering why I can't forget you. So yeah, again, as far as I know, this is a classic. It's certainly one I remember hearing quite a bit, and its inclusion on this like hits of the 80s compilation suggests that it was a big deal. But who knows? Maybe this is the only track of theirs that was really prominent in the charts. But either way, I definitely remember this one, and as I said, when I took out this CD earlier, I was like, oh, I don't think I've reacted to that, and that's definitely a tune that makes me think of my youth. So in any case, let me know what you think of this one, and I will see you next time. Peace.